Hi, this is Shotgun Tom Kelly, and now that I have your attention, you wanted to be close to him in the dugout during his impressive 15-year Major League career because he was always watching, listening, and looking for an edge. Now, Kurt Bavacqua brings that edge to Dirty Kurt's Dugout, where you can listen, watch, and be a part of the most honest, informative baseball show available today. Now, here's Kurt.
What's going on? I'm going to expect as much interaction with all of you out there as we've ever had on this show today for one reason, and one reason only, because of my guest. I know you interact with me every once in a while. This is your opportunity because, trust me, not very many people get an opportunity to ask Dennis Gilbert a question about anything. And it's not that he's stand backish, because he's not. But where is he? How do you get next to him? Well, my guest this week is as good a person as you could ever know. He really is. He has so many awards I can't even start. I mean, he's the first inductee into the LA City College Hall of Fame. He's in the Los Angeles Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, right alongside Mark Spitz and Sandy Koufax. Yeah, that Hall of Fame. He set new standards in creating Major League Baseball players' contracts for today's players, because he did it back in the 80s. How about such players as George Brett, Jose Canseco, Barry Bonds, Mike Piazza, Curt Schilling, Ricky Henderson, Trevor Hoffman, San Diego's own, and of course, everybody's favorite, Bobby Bonilla. When Dennis, welcome to the show. I'm not going to keep you back there any longer. Welcome to the show. It's so good not only to see your face, but also to talk to you, because I've been wanting to do this for a couple of years, and I've kind of waited because I really didn't know how you thought about it, what you thought about it. But when I saw you at Dodger Stadium one day with "It's Bobby Bonilla Day" t-shirt on, I went, okay, now I'm going to go for it. So congratulations on that. Congratulations on everything that you've done in life. And how are you, and how's everything?
Kurt, you were there at the beginning. You've been a friend of mine for 40 years, and it's so good to see you. I look forward to seeing you in person. It's been way too long.
We'll definitely do that. So I know there's going to be some excitement out there when people tune in and they get an opportunity to see that you're on the show. Folks, my guest, Dennis Gilbert, welcome to Dirty Kurt's Dugout, brought to you by the good folks at Hacienda Casablanca out in El Cajon. Great Mexican food. Thank you, Tony and Cindy, for the continued support, and also our good buddies down at Lacima Oil, Tom Drake and his neighborhood Chevron dealers. We've got Gil's already on. This is the first time I've seen Facebook user on here. Are we not friends to that Facebook user? If you guys want to ask a specific question to Dennis, can you see the comments come up on the right side of your screen? Or better yet, can you see them right there? I know you know who Terrence Morgan is.
Sure.
He just asked a question because Terrence is like paint. He's everywhere. It's amazing. That guy, it doesn't matter where you go or what you're looking at, Terrence Morgan's going to be in the picture. And he listens to this show every week. He's a great listener, a great supporter of this show. And he has a question the last time. He just made a statement. He welcomes you to Dirty Kurt's Dugout. we're going to talk about the Association of Professional Baseball Players in a minute, but let's kick it off with the big guy. And I know there might be bigger guys for you, but Bobby Bonilla has become a player that nobody's going to forget his name just because of July 1st every year. Can you explain to us what brought that contract around, or what brought the idea for Bobby Bo's contract to the forefront?
Well, Kurt, if you remember back in the day that, when I was starting out to be an agent, I was an insurance person before. And my whole philosophy is taking money out of the bank of today and putting it into the bank of tomorrow. And you having a 15-year major league career, just think about how many friends and teammates and people that you've played with or against that a few years after they were out of the game were broke or didn't really have a lot of money set aside. And so I use that as like one of my recruiting tactics, is that it's real important to put money away and to make sure you had a career after your career. Because being a professional athlete prepares you the same way you get prepared for it as being a king. In other words, if you're a king, it prepares you for nothing. Being a professional baseball player doesn't prepare you for an afterlife at all.
Well, you're certainly right about a lot of players being in situations that they probably don't want to be in financially because they didn't plan. But in defense of a lot of those players, especially pre the era when you stepped into it, because I mean, you hit it before Scott Boras. You were there. I mean, Scott Boras's first client was Andy Bennis, I think around 1988. You were there in the early 80s. Guys that came and played in the big leagues before that time really didn't see really big contracts, even in the forefront of free agency. When did you see the contracts really start to change as far as free agency and players getting long-term agreements and clubs spending a lot more money naturally, not like they do today, but the way they used to?
Well, I can, without using players' names, I have players that are still getting paid on contracts that I did in 1980, 81, 82. And I've always been a big believer in deferred compensation and using insurance products to do it, because, like a lot of people say, oh, you can make more money in real estate, you can make a lot more money in the stock market. But the one thing is you get guarantees in some of the insurance products. And you also have compounded growth, tax-free. So I was able to leverage the knowledge that I gained in the insurance business into being able to give advice and negotiate contracts. I would say that there has to be 70, 80 professional baseball players, between retired ones and guys that are still playing, that have these types of deals going on. Some were done by teams. Some of these were done individually. Some, I even walked players into banks, got them loans to finance these types of plans. They all work out. Biggest problem I have is dealing with stockbrokers. They say, well, we can make you more money. You can also lose you more money. You can't lose money in these plans.
You're asking me, Dennis?
I think we're KB is going to have to make a trip up to LA soon and have a little sit down with you, Dennis. Let's go back, because insurance seems to be a big part of the conversation here. you used to play professional baseball.
I did.
That's where you got your nickname, Go-Go.
I did. Rick Dempsey.
When you, I mean, you didn't play for very long when you knew or had a feeling that it's probably a better idea if you get into something else. I mean, how does somebody do this? I don't think that thought ever entered my mind the first 3, 4, 5 years of my professional career when I was in the minor leagues.
Well, it didn't enter my mind either. And what happened, it's a funny story. So I've already been released twice, once by the Red Sox, then by the Mets a few years later. And then I signed with the Orioles, went to spring training with them. And I have a meeting with a guy named Ray Portavant and Harry Dalton. I don't know if you remember either of those names.
I do.
Okay. And they said, Dennis, we have good news and bad news for you. I said, well, geez, what's the good news? He says, you're going to get a raise. This is in spring training. I go, well, what can possibly be the bad news? He says, we optioned you out to the Mexican League.
So you went.
I went and played summer ball in Mexico, and I had a whole year to think about my life. And it's just what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And you know, baseball was my life. You know, most people don't realize it, that most people like yourself and myself, it's not a game or a sport, but baseball is a way of life. It's all they think about all the time. And I had no training for anything else. And when I came back from the Mexican League, I took a job coaching baseball at LA City College. And one of our players, the first baseman, his father, he's driving a Cadillac coming to practice, and I'm driving a Dodge van after 5 years of professional baseball. And I went up to him and I asked him, what do you do? And he says, I sell insurance. Well, as soon as the season ended, you know, I'm having lunch with the guy, and next thing you know, that's what I was doing.
Well, I guarantee you had more fun in your van than he had in his Cadillac. Now, so you sat down, you talked to him about the insurance business. You go to California like everybody wants to do. Let's go out to southern sunny California. Who becomes your clients early on?
Oh, you're going to like this story, Kurt. So the guy gives me a list of newlyweds and said, call these people and get an appointment. We'll go out there and sell them insurance. They're newlyweds. And I was unequivocally the worst guy on the telephone you'd ever want to see, just making cold calls. And as I can tell you, I didn't do well at all. And so I said, where did this list come from? The guy goes, oh, you buy it at the county courthouse. I said, really? He says, yeah, that's where they go to get their marriage license. So what I did is I went down to the county courthouse where people were getting their marriage licenses. And as I walk out the courthouse with these big yellow manila envelopes, I go up to them and introduce myself as the insurance guy for newlyweds for Los Angeles County. And that's how I started.
So you come up with an idea because you might be bad on cold calls, but you're good at selling.
Well, I was a 3-tool player when I played. You know, I could hit a little bit, I could really run, and I could talk. I can't hit or run, but I can still talk. So anyway, so one day I'm standing in front of the courthouse, and I get a tap on the shoulder, and I turn around, and the guy introduces himself. First I says, "Are you the guy harassing the newlyweds?" And I said, "God darn it, yeah." He says, "Well, my name is Judge so-and-so." He said, "What I do every Wednesday from 12 to 1 o'clock, I'm going to marry about a half a dozen to a dozen people, and we need somebody to witness the signatures. And so this way you can meet all the newlyweds and witness all these people getting married." That's how I got started.
That's crazy. Okay, client-wise, I have heard that Johnny Carson, amongst others, were clients of yours.
That is correct.
Wow.
You know, other deceased famous people, I don't mind talking about, from Johnny Carson to Michael Jackson to Michael Landon. You know, I mean, I took the academic road and worked it very, very hard, and took a correspondence class from Columbia School of Accounting and learned tax when I first got in the insurance business, and took a whole different approach to get certified by the state of California to teach continuing education to CPAs in life insurance and estate planning. So I started teaching CPAs that as soon as I got my degree, which I did totally, not online because they didn't have computers in those days, totally correspondently. And by having these accountants in my class, then I was able to get a lot of referrals from them.
You started an organization that benefits down and out scouts of professional baseball. Can you tell everyone the name and also tell us about it?
Sure. It's called the Professional Baseball Scouts Foundation, and we just merged with Major League Baseball bats program, because I hit 75 years old about a month ago, and I did that 17 years. But I did start it. We raised millions of dollars for baseball scouts, and these guys, they're generally former professional baseball players, most of them are, that actually have no real profession to go to once they either get fired or they have very little retirement. And if they pass, their spouses really don't have much of an income. They don't ever make an awful lot of money. Some do today, but they haven't historically. And we took care of, I would say a couple hundred of them during that time.
That's pretty awesome. A lot of people they kind of forget about players when they take their uniform off. A lot of these players step into the boots of a scout, and there you go. Voila, you've got the situation that you just explained to everybody. You've got guys that are former players. Now they're scouts. They're not making as much money as they were when they were players, and they weren't making a lot of money then. So what a great idea. What a great organization. Let's chat real quick about something that happened last week. And it's in relations to Bobby Bonilla again. That name seems to come up when we talk about Dennis Gilbert. But there was actually a contract that was sold at auction.
That is correct.
Bobby Bonilla's original contract, I read somewhere that sold at auction for how much?
$180,000.
So Bobby Bo's getting paid 1.1, almost 1.2 every July 1st. And now you're able to sell the original contract for 180 grand at an auction the other night. And the person that won this prize, folks, by the way, and I read this, I haven't heard this from Dennis yet, so I'm going to verify it with him. This person gets a sit down or a Zoom call with you and Bobby?
I think he gets to go to a game with Bobby, and I'll have a Zoom call with him.
He should want to go to
30-minute Zoom call. I think he also gets a baseball bat signed.
So when are we going to see you back every time we watch a Dodger game? You're going to be going back pretty soon?
Well, you probably noticed that I have these two big things under my eyes right now.
Uh-huh.
I recently had eyelid surgery. I had cataracts, and the cataract doctor couldn't operate because my eyelids were really bad. And so I just had the surgery 7 days ago. And if it wasn't you, Kurt, I would not be doing a podcast.
Yeah, you look. I told you when you first came on, I was surprised. I was expecting to see something really worse. But another reason that I wanted to have you on the show, it was big news last week. The passing of your good friend and all of our history that has to do with baseball, Mr. Vince Scully. You just went to his memorial service on Monday. Can you talk about that a little?
A little bit. It was his funeral, and it was a 2-hour service, and everybody from Peter O'Malley to Sandy Koufax was there. Kurt Clayshaw was there. Justin Turner was there. Ron Say was there. Steve Brenner, your buddy, was there. And and then there were some, there were other people there, but there were about 300 people that paid tribute. Remember, this guy has 5 kids that are alive, and he has 16 grandkids. And the service was absolutely beautiful. It was done right.
Well, I want all the people that are out watching the show right now to know that the passing of Vince Scully hit a lot of people hard, but no harder than this gentleman right here, because he was very good personal friends with him and his wife, Sandy. I know Dennis, you and Cindy have been good friends with them for a long time, and I feel bad that you have to go through this. My condolences to you and Cindy, and please say hi to her. And I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And I am going to follow up. I am going to take a ride up to LA, even though I hate it. I don't hate LA. I just hate driving in the traffic, and come up and see you.
I look forward to it, Kurt. What kind of viewing do you have on this show?
We have hundreds of thousands of people that see this show.
That's great. Tell people not to get scared after looking at me. I mean,
yeah,
the doctor said that these bruises will go away in a week or two.
It's only a week. I mean, you got to be kidding me. There's people that look this bad 6 months after a prize fight. You look fine. I want to see you back. I want to see you back in back of the screen. The Dodgers are. We're going to go right into that right now. After I let you go, playing phenomenal baseball. I know Dennis Gilbert has still got a special assistant position with the Chicago White Sox. They call on him quite often to do team administrative work. And one smart man you're looking at, folks. Dennis, I appreciate it. I'm glad to call you a friend, and we will follow up, and I will see you soon.
Kurt, it's really good to speak to you. You look really good, and I'm really happy to see you looking that good.
You look good too. You got to keep that beard. Cindy likes it. I guarantee you Cindy likes it. Does she or does she not?
Thanks, buddy.
Okay. Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks. Dennis Gilbert, the man, the author of the Bobby Bonilla contract. Everybody talks about it every single year. And guess what? We'll be talking about it for another 13 years. Because Bobby Bo is going to be getting a check from the Mets on July 1st every single year until the year 2035. Don't look down on this guy. Don't look down on Dennis Gilbert. He told you how it was done. Dennis was my agent a couple of years. I didn't make enough money to invest in the insurance industry. That's what I'm going to go up and talk to him about. Not that I didn't do it or we didn't do it together, but that I want to see what's up. And he sells the contract for 180 grand. Oh, that's genius. Okay. We mentioned the Los Angeles Dodgers. Let's take a look at the standings in baseball real quick. Then we'll go to the wild card positioning right now, because if somebody would have told me at the beginning of this season that the Los Angeles Dodgers would be 16 games ahead of the San Diego Padres in the National League West, I would have lost everything that I own. And 22 and a half games in front of the San Francisco Giants, it just no way you could have conceived of that happening. But just take a look. You really can't find any negatives about the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're 77 and 33. Playing 700 baseball. This is crazy. The kind of baseball that they're playing is just crazy. I mean, they're getting beat by the Minnesota Twins yesterday, and they just steadily stayed on them. And I've been looking naturally when the San Diego Padres play the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I've seen over the last year or two that it seems to me that when they take the field, one of the teams is waiting to get beat and the other team is waiting to win. Well, guess what? Word's gotten out in baseball, and it's the same way everywhere. And I think that's the reason the Los Angeles Dodgers, or one of the reasons that the Los Angeles Dodgers are as successful as they are. Because teams just sit back because they expect something to happen on the other side of the field. And it normally does. Joe, let's take a look at the wild card standings. We'll give the people the good news about what's going on with the wild card standings. There actually is some pretty surprising stuff going on in here. And all you have to do is look at the 14 down and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, who would have either thunk it at the beginning of the year that the Baltimore Orioles would be in a wild card position? I mean, right in it. And that the Minnesota Twins would be behind them, along with the Chicago White Sox and the Boston Red Sox. Forget about the rest of the teams. Can you imagine how much money you could have won if you would have went over to Vegas and said, the Baltimore Orioles are going to be in front of the Boston Red Sox, the Chicago White Sox, and the Minnesota Twins 105 games into the season? They would have looked at you like you were an alien. That would have never happened. So this is an exciting time for that young team. It's an exciting time for the people in Baltimore, and hooray for them. I hope that it's this kind of finish leading down to the wire at the end of the year, but we will see. We'll see what happens with Toronto and Seattle. As you can see, there are not too many games in front of either Baltimore or Tampa Bay. And certainly Minnesota's right there, and so are the Chicago White Sox. Boston, I'm not too sure about, but we'll see. Let's go over to the National League, Joe, and take a look at how the Padres stand. As you can see, they are one game up on the Milwaukee Brewers. Yeah, that's right, folks. It's hard to fathom the fact that this San Diego ball club 3 weeks ago, was a game and a half out of first place in the National League West. And sure, they played some bad baseball. And there were only 12 games over 500. I think they were about 17 games over 500 at the time. And now they're only 12. But look who moved ahead of them. The Philadelphia Phillies. This is going to be fun stuff. I think the 4 teams that you're looking at there, naturally, the Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets are going to fight it out. But the Braves have really taken charge in the National League East. And the Philadelphia Phillies aren't too many games back, but they're going to probably end up in a wild card position, possibly along with the leader, the team that wins the National League East. Is it going to be the Mets or is it going to be the Atlanta Braves? Right now, the Mets are in first place. We'll see what happens. I don't see anybody doing anything in the National League West except the Los Angeles Dodgers and teams positioning themselves for the postseason and home field advantage, etc. In the Central, that could end up being a roll of the dice between St. Louis and Milwaukee. We will see. St. Louis playing good baseball right now. So yours truly is getting out of Dodge for a couple of days, and we will not broadcast until the 18th is a travel date for me. So stay tuned. Haven't even figured it out yet. Coming back on the 18th, so maybe the 19th. Yeah, well, let's do it on the 19th. You and me on a Friday, the 19th. We'll have all of the games that we can take a look at. And we'll talk then. But until then, this is Kurt Bavacqua again. I want to thank Tony and Cindy at Hacienda Casablanca. What do we got? Difficulty. Got it. Freddie Oswald down in Florida. Maybe that's why. I don't know what's going on with Verbal. I'm going to have to lean on producer Joe for that. I don't know what you mean by but seems okay. I mean, we're either having difficulties with it or not. We take on the 2023 rule, no defensive shifts. I haven't talked about that today, Freddie, but I want anybody that has listened to the podcast that also had problems with the video going in and out, please let us know. We need to know that stuff and try to find out whether it's on our side or yours. So, no, there will be no defensive shifts next year. As a matter of fact, they're going to have a little bit of a triangle. We'll get a picture of that, and we'll have that up, and we'll talk about that on the next show or two. As a matter of fact, Joe, let's keep this message from Fred, and we'll go over a lot of this stuff, or all of it, except for maybe the hot dogs, and in the next show or two. But Freddie, I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you.
I really don't mind discussing hot dogs. It's one of my favorite things in the world.
There you go.
But as far as the technical difficulty, I've watched other run by this same product here, and it's been a thing lately. It's something I'm going to look into, and I appreciate Fred pointing that out. I'll look into that. But let's talk hot dogs. And
are you talking about StreamYard?
Yep. I wasn't going to mention it by name, but yeah.
Why? It's okay. Because by product, people might think it's you.
Oh, no, I'm perfect. I make no mistakes.
You rely on the technology that StreamYard gives us. So, yeah, that's something we need to look into. I mean, is it because we're reaching so many people?
Yeah, the listenership is huge. And that bird you can hear, that's Tom Drake's. I'm just going to want to point that out right now. That's Tom Drake's bird that's screaming.
And I'm glad you said Tom Drake, because I thanked Cindy and Tony again from Hacienda Casablanca, but I was going to get to Tom Drake, and then I saw Freddie's message come up. But naturally, as always, Tom Drake, Lacima Oil in his neighborhood, Chevron stations, people that support us. And there's producer Joe and Tom Drake repping KB at the game one night, right before they were about to leave. That's pretty cool. There you go. I love it. All right, folks. We will see you on Friday the 19th, I believe it is. And until then, take care of yourself. Hopefully the Padres have turned things around. It kind of seems like they have the last couple of games. They've got some offense going, which is going to make the pitchers take the mound and not feel like they can't give up a hit. That's not a good feeling. I mean, it really isn't. So take care of yourself. Hope your team wins, whoever that might be. And until next Friday, this is KB saying goodbye, everybody.